Right, we're live and you can start.
Thanks. Hi guys, it's 4 o'clock and it's time for our lesson. I'm hoping that you are well. And today we're just gonna go through one of the easiest stuff in Excel. I'm sure you'll probably enjoy this. So I'm just going to switch off the video quickly so that we don't get distracted. All right, so today's lesson is about charts. And like I said, charts are quite simple to do. And the good thing about charts is that in the exam, they carry a lot of marks, probably 6 marks. And they are quite interesting to do as well. So this is the part that when you come into an exam or into a test, you should get all the full marks, and we should be able to proceed quite well today because I don't expect people to get confused. Okay. So at the end of this lesson, I need you to know the different types of charts that are there, chart elements, different chart elements, how to create a chart, and how to format and edit a chart. Then, of course, I see some of you are answering the online activities that we sent during this week. That's good. Please keep it up. And I hope you are managing to get the files that the links that I would have posted there on the chat to help you practice. But remember, there are so many ways you can practice your CAT practical work. You can get some textbooks. Textbooks are quite similar, and practice as much as you can. All right, so let's get into it. Right, a chart. You know, for those of us that are doing pure maths, and I'm sure mathematical literacy, and maybe the other subjects in economics or even in life science, at some point you have to draw a graph, especially in maths, and maths there is data handling. A chart is just a graph, right? And the only difference here is the name. We call it a chart, but it's essentially a graph. The way you draw a graph, the way you see a graph in your other subjects is exactly the same way here. Just that maybe there are different terms here and there, but it's nothing complicated. You will see as we move on, right? So it is also referred to as a graph. It's a visual representation of data and results. So you have maybe you just a set of uh, data that you have, and you want to have a pictorial view of that data so that you can actually make decisions. You know, it's easy to make analysis when you're seeing something visually, right? So just imagine if we were teaching each other through audio notes. You can't see what's on the screen, or you just hear my voice. Sometimes it's difficult for you to understand what I'll be talking about. All right, so there are different types of charts, right? We have a column or a bar chart, right? And it looks something like that, right? With I'm sure even in your senior phase, I have seen some in technology, natural science, drawing these things, right? Then the other is a line chart, right? A line chart looks something like that, right? You know, what do we use a line chart for? You know, to show trends or data that occur over time. You know, data like uh, exchange rates. Those that are doing economics, you're probably familiar with exchange rate, forex exchange rate, or those that are doing geography, you're familiar with climate change. And even now, those of us that are following this whole COVID-19 cases, you know, they are presenting this as graphs, and some of them are line graphs. And you have actually heard the president talk about flattening the curve, and the curve appears as a line graph. So line graphs are quite useful and are used in our everyday life. Right, then we have a scatter. You'd know it maybe as a scatter plot, where you've got dots and even your outliers, you can actually identify them in your scatter graph. All right. Then the other type of graph is a pie chart, and this one is also common, but sometimes it can be quite confusing to draw it manually when you're doing your maths or your maths lead, where you have to calculate the slices and all those things. Well, the good thing is in Excel, you just need the data and it will create the perfect pie chart for you. All right. So those are some of the types. The list is not exhaustive, but for the purposes of this lesson, we're just going to look at maybe 3 of those. But there are quite a lot, as I'll show you on the spreadsheet, that there's so many types that you can use depending on how you want to display the data. All right. All right. I was checking. Someone was asking here. All right, you can hear me. Wunolo, I can see you. You can hear me. All right, fine. Let's proceed. All right, so now when you draw a graph, there are certain elements that have to be present in a graph besides the graphic, like as you can see there, those bars, right? Other than the bars, there are elements that you need to add to your chart. So what are these elements? All right. The most obvious ones is the axis, right? In your usual graph, you call it the vertical one, we call it the y-axis, and the horizontal one, you call it the x-axis. Well, in Excel, it is actually referred, the y-axis is just referred to as the vertical axis. So whatever you want to do there are options that you can use to change the vertical axis. For example, you might want numbering that goes like 0, 5, 10, 15, or you might want to change the numbering that goes like 0, 2, 4, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are options available on the vertical axis for you to change, as you will see in an example that we're going to do. Right, and then of course the x-axis is the horizontal axis. So the things that you actually do, like your scaling, you can also do it there. All right, then what other element, right? In your usual everyday graph, you have something that you call a key, right? Now in Excel, a key is known as a legend. What does it do? It actually gives you a direction of what each element in your chart represents. Now, these elements are common in all the other graphs, like your line graph, except maybe there's a slight difference when you talk about the pie chart. But most of the things are quite similar. So a legend, you equate it to your key, right? Then, of course, every chart has to have a title. This is very important. Now, you see all these things that I've put on the screen, the vertical axis, horizontal axis, legend, title. If you are in an exam setup, the moment you put these things, they've got marks, right? If you understand how to put them, and it's not difficult at all. All right. So then we have, sometimes you can actually show the quantity of what each bar stands for, right? And we call these data labels, right? So these numbers can show on top, they can show on top of the screen like that, or you can actually show them inside the bars or below the bars, depending on what you want, right? Then, of course, sometimes you want to see the lines like that. What do we call these lines in the graph? We call them grid lines. All right, so these are some of the chart elements, right? Sometimes you would also need to format your graph, maybe give a specific color to a bar, or put a picture inside the bar, or increase the number of grid lines. well, it's all up to how you want your graph to come out. All right. Now, so now how do you insert a chart? Let me just check. I see there's some questions. I hope. All right. Don't you have an option of letting me stream on YouTube, Glenn? Yes, there is. They will send you the link just now. Then Lubeli says we also have the legend on the vertical axis. Well, like I said, the legend is like a key, right? You can actually place it at the bottom of the graph or on the left, or depending on where you want it to be. All right, and Glenn, there you wanted the YouTube link. There is the YouTube link. You can actually get onto it and stream live on YouTube. All right, let me just check if there are any other questions. Is the more option? Is the more option? This is Noctava. Is there an option to connect? Oh, okay, this was something else. All right. I hope you can now hear us, Noctava. All right, so getting back, how do you insert a graph? It's quite simple, right? First and foremost, you need to have a data usually in a table format, right? So you select the data on which the chart is to be based, right? Then you click on insert you click on the insert tab and select the type of chart that you want, right? Then a chart type, you select a chart type you will want to select will appear, isn't it? All right, so let's just check how that goes. All right, so here's our first example there. Maybe I would say it was a show where there were people that were performing to different genres of music. Country, there were 2 performers, R&B 4, rock 1, hip hop 5, and amapiano 3. So now suppose you want to see this on a graph, right? So what do you do? Step number 1, you select the data that you want to represent on the graph. Now take note. Remember, in a graph, you've got the y-axis, which we call the vertical axis, and you've got the horizontal axis, which we call the x-axis, right? The x-axis, which we call the horizontal axis. Now, in your data, like in this table, usually the data that is written first, like in this case, genre, it is what is going to appear on the x-axis, and then this is your y-axis. All right, so what's the next step? You go to insert. All right, insert. Right, so these are the different chart types. If you click on this little button here to see all the charts, like I said in that example, we just gave a few, right? So in this case, do you see that it already tells me if you're using Microsoft Office 2016, it also recommends based on the data that you would have highlighted, it can actually recommend which chart to use, right? But I just want to show you the different types of charts that are there. As you can see, there's a column. These are the different types of column charts that are there, right? The line, we spoke about it. The pie chart, we also spoke about it. Now, the bar chart is just like a column chart, right? But it has got horizontal bars, right? So there are plenty of there is the scatter there that you can use. But in this case, what do we want? We want to insert a column chart, right? So we say, okay. All right, there is our graph there. Now, remember we spoke of the different elements. As you can see on this graph, the elements are not there. Like here, we want the x-axis or the horizontal axis to have genres in it. And this side, we want to have maybe number of performers, for example, right? So what do we do? You see, if you click anywhere inside the graph, right, this is what we call the plot area. So the moment you click, you can see that an array of options appear, right? If you click on this chart element, right, it gives you the different chart elements that are available. As you can see, the axis, the primary horizontal, that's the our x-axis, then the primary vertical is our y-axis, right? But then look at, there is axis with AXE, right? This is where you actually change these numbers, right? The X is with an E, these numbers and these, you can actually manipulate these, right? So if you go back there, then there is the axis title for you to write number of performers and for you to write maybe genres on the y-axis there. So these are the different chart elements that are there. And in your question paper, this is what is going to give you more marks, because the questions are going to be asking you what to do there. All right. Then again, if you want to do it quite quickly, if you check, there is this plus sign, right? It also adds or remove chart elements. For example, if you click there, right, the X's are showing. If I tick like that, if I untick this, it's a bit slow. Okay, let me just go back. I don't know what happened there. My screen has just disappeared on me. I hope you can see. Are you able to see? Let me just go back to the chat. Please tell me if you can see the screen. Are you able to see the screen? All right, thanks. All right, no problem. Nice. Okay. Right. So I was saying, if you click on the chart like that, and if you click on this green plus sign, you see when you untick, the X's disappear, right? But when you tick them, they should appear. And if you move your mouse pointer, there is this small little arrow there for more options. So if you want more options, there you see it appears there, and you can click more options, right? So this is where you can now, you see this dialog box appears. These are the various options that you can work on based on the formatting the axis, right? So if we go back there, remember we said maybe we want to show that the title of the y-axis is number of performers, or the title of the horizontal axis is a genre. So you see axis titles is not ticked. The moment we tick it, it should appear, right? So by default, what appears is these more like text boxes. So what do? You just click inside. All right, so we say this is the genre. You're now labeling the axis, right? Then this side, again, you can just click inside, you delete and type what you want. So here, maybe we say number of performers. Number of performers, like that. All right, so now our graph has got titles on the x-axis and on the y-axis. Right now, if you see, maybe you don't like the bars, they're all blue. You want a specific color for each bar, right? So what do? If you click on any of the bars, remember the bars are known as the data series, right? If you just click on any of the bars, you see on the corners of the bars, it shows that it has been selected. Now, when it's like this, it means you can format all the bars the same way. But suppose you just want to format one bar, maybe you want to change this bar to color red. You click again, you realize that all these other bars are no longer selected. This is now just this bar. Now, there is this little icon here, right? When you click on it, it can give you different styles of how your chart can look like, right? Or if you really want to put a color, remember in Excel, when you paint something, we call it a fill. You can actually right click on your mouse, Do you see where it says fill there, right? You can click there and then you choose the color that you want. Like in this case, we wanted red, right? So there our bar is now painted red. Maybe we want this one to be green, right? You make sure when you select it, it is the only one that is selected. So you right click and then choose the color, maybe green, right? There you have it. So the other thing that we spoke about was the legend. Again, you click on the plot area. There you look for legend, you tick, right? Do you see the legend appears there, right? Somebody asked, I think it was Lubeli, where you put it. Right now it's on the right, isn't it? If you go to the more options of the legend, more options, now you can actually choose whether you want it to be at the top, left, or bottom. Usually we just put it at the bottom because that's it looks nicer that way. That's usually how I prefer it. All right. Now we also spoke of data labels, so you can actually go on the elements, chart elements, and you choose data labels, right? So you see the numbers appear there. Again, on the data labels, you even have got more options again where to put. If you say inside end, they're there, inside base, outside, you see, it all depends on what you want. So the data actually now appears. You can now actually see. And when you're now looking at this, you can tell that, oh, there are more hip hop performers. It's easy for you by just looking at it, right? Sometimes your chart might be small, right? You can actually increase it just like you'd increase a picture in Microsoft Word, whichever way you want, right? And then we also spoke of grid lines. If you click on the lines, I hope you can see the lines. If you click on the lines there you have it. You can actually format the lines to be more visible. Let's say we want to change them to black, right? You can right click, format grid lines, right? So there is the types of lines we can have: solid line, line color. Right now it's white. You can actually change it maybe to black, right? As you can see now, it's more clear, right? So you can actually play around with these elements and see how they work. All right. So that was our column chart. Then a line chart is basically the same thing, right? So here we just have got the Johannesburg temperatures for the whole year, right? So what are we going to do? Select the data, go to insert. Now you look for the line chart. There is the line chart there. Or you can actually go there if you want, depending on what you need, then you just choose the line chart that you want. Right, so now there comes the presentation. So you can also put the chart elements like we did. It's all the same thing. All right, now let's look at maybe a pie chart. All right, so here we've got different car dealers where cars were sold, and you want this data to be presented in a pie chart. Again, you highlight, insert chart. All right, you can choose whichever chart you want. All right, so there you have, and the legend is already there. Now with the pie chart, the data labels are somewhat different sometimes. So you can come, you see, you can put the data labels as numbers, right? Let's just go to the more options. Let's just put more options. All right, so you can actually put the data labels as numbers, or you can add as percentages. So you can now see that maybe Mercedes-Benz is 17%, or is it Mercedes-Benz is 7%, right? You can actually add a category name to make it clearer. So you can now see that Toyota, there were 7 cars that were sold, it's 23%, right? So here you can actually add so many things, right? So maybe if I can just leave percentage there and category name, all right? So sometimes, remember I said you can actually resize your chart like that. All right. Now, you would also want maybe to change the colors. Maybe this gray doesn't look nice. You can actually click on inside the plot area. You see what happens when you click? The whole slices are selected, but if you click for the second time, only one slice is selected. You can actually click and hold your mouse and remove this slice out of the, if maybe you want to talk about it further. And if you want to change the color, just like you do on the bar graph, you right click, there is your fill there. You can actually change maybe the fill. Let's change it to green. Let's say it is green. Or sometimes you want a line around your slice there. What do you do? Same thing. You make sure you selected the one slice. You right click on your mouse. There is the outline. You see the outline there, outline color, right? Maybe let's put red. You can actually change even the thickness of the line, right? Do you see that? So it's really up to what you want to do, right? Now, sometimes you want to maybe put a picture. You want to put a picture in the in your pie chart, like in this slice there, right? So it's the same scenario. Remember, we said this is the fill color. So what you do, you right click. First, you select the slice that you want. You right click. The fill now, if you go to the fill, do you see here it says picture fill, right? So this now gives you a lot of pictures that you can actually choose from. So now mine is just loading straight from the internet. But if you want, you can actually go straight to the computer, the same way you would insert the same way you would insert your pictures in Microsoft Word. Is the same way, right? So maybe if I can just go there, now I'm now searching for the picture. Let's see, what do I have? What do I have? Let me just go to my desktop. All right. Okay, there. Right. So you now search for where your picture is what is stored, right? So my picture is stored in, let's say that's the picture that I want. Then you click on insert. There you have it. So you see the picture now appears in a different way. So depending on what the picture is, so that is also applicable even in the column graph. You do the same thing. Even when you want to put the outline, the borders around, you can also do the same, right? Now, there's something that maybe I just want to highlight here, right? Suppose you just want to have R&B, maybe hip hop and amapiano, and you don't want the rest of the data, but you don't want to change the your data, right? So you can actually go and highlight what you want. Like in this case, we said maybe we want R&B, so you highlight R&B there. Then on your keyboard, you hold down Control, you go and highlight hip hop like that. While just holding your Control on your keyboard, hold it down and you highlight that. So now you have selected like a different set of data that you want, but not the whole table, right? So then the process is exactly the same. You go and insert your bar chart. Now, do you see what's happening here? It's just now these three, right? The other things maybe that you can do on a chart, let me just delete this one so that we don't get confused. All right. The other thing that you can do, you can actually change even the font color of this, just like you do in Word, the way you format your text boxes in Microsoft Word is the same thing. So you can actually change, even you can change the font type if you want, depending on what the you see that you can change the different attributes. All right, so let me just check if there are questions. I see there's a couple of questions there. Let me just check. All right, I hear Glenn, you're now on YouTube. I hope you can hear us. All right, any other questions? Right, no questions at this point. Actually, guys, you can ask questions. Those of you that are in the Zoom chat, please, you can ask questions. I will be glad to take some questions. All right, so you'd ask then another one. Let's look at a clustered one, right? So here is the thing. The maybe the sales have been extended to over 3 months, April, May, June, right? And you want to see how the sales have gone by in a graph. So it's basically the same thing. You highlight your data, insert. Now, this one, same thing. You see how it comes out pretty nicely. Then you can go through the changing of your information just like you did in the graphs. But then suppose here you want to change. Do you see the interval? The interval is 0, 2, 4, 6. Suppose you want it to be 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on the scale that you're given. So again, you go and click on the axis, you right click on your mouse, right? Do you see where it says format axis there? You can click there. This dialog box should come out. Now, these are known as bounds. From here up to there, that's the bound. So it's from 0 to 14. As you can see, there's 0 to 14. Now the units, here it says major, so 0 to. So suppose we change our major units to 1, right? Like that. You will see that it now changes to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then now, depending on how you want your graph to appear, if you make them too small or too big, let me give you an example. Suppose you want to change format. If you make them too big, let's say we put that to 5, right? Do you see what happens now? Your information doesn't look so nice. So it's always wise to just choose the one that makes sense. All right, so like in this case, I'm happy with 2. All right, so 2 makes it appear quite nice. So the rest of the formatting you can actually do like we just spoke about. All right, now, like I said, it's charts are quite very simple, and I don't expect you guys to have problems, because this is the fun part. Okay, let me just check some questions. Anyone with a question? No questions? Anyone with a question? All right, so that's basically what we need to know about charts at this point. And this is the activity that we can work on. Remember, I have been putting this as a link to an online activity. If you open this link, right, it will take you to a Google form where you just answer a couple of questions. The good thing about this, it gives you instant feedback, how many marks you got. And you can also redo it until you have mastered. So just to keep you busy. All right, and then this the link to a practical activity. Again, if you open this link, it will take you straight to a question paper that I have designed for you in the data files where you can actually answer. All right, so maybe let me just try and paste the links for you on the chat. All right, let me just try and paste the links for you. All right, this is the online activity. You see it just now. All right, online activity. Yes, there's a question from Letu. Yes, I'm waiting for your question, Letu. I can see the question. I haven't heard the question. Oh, you have got no question. I thought you had raised your hand. All right, fine. So can you just maybe take a quick screenshot, because I'm having trouble with trying to paste the links there. But you can just take maybe a screenshot of this. Are you able to see the links? These links that I have put up there. All right. So just you will just copy them neatly if once we're done. Or remember, you can always go have a look at this a video again, right? Then you can actually see the links. Please do do those activities. They're quite helpful. They make you understand better. All right. So that's it for this week. Next week, we're gonna look at the Excel part, sorry, the theory part, right? And most of you are well versed with theory. I've seen that in a couple of times. So next week, we're going to be basically talking about storage, memory, and processing. All right, guys, I think our time is up, and I hope to see you next week. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, even on YouTube. On YouTube, if you search for Africa Teen Geeks, you make sure you like the Africa Teen Geeks on YouTube so that you can get notifications of when the lessons are starting. Remember, there are more lessons. There's physical science, there's maths, there's English. So you can actually log on uh, and learn until this whole lockdown is done. All right, I'll just check if there are any more questions because we just got a few minutes. Nogutaba says for next week, is it still Zoom or Teams? I would like to believe it's going to be Teams from next week, but don't worry, it's not complicated. It's exactly the same as yes, we'll send you the links and don't stress yourself. It works exactly the same way. So we should be able to be doing the same thing. So even on YouTube, we'll still be streaming, no problem. Any other questions? Oh yes, Ben Mang is asking, what do you mean by Teams? Teams is just a Microsoft application, just like Zoom, right? So you will still, Kumo is asking, how can we receive the links? You still receive the same way you did the links for Zoom.